Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I made a video, been very busy over the last couple of months, but the latest subject for your perusal is one of the more interesting things that I've added to my collection lately, which is this very long and interesting antique walking stick. So this is something that I actually bought quite a while ago. I'm making a video about it now because a few days ago I finally got it repaired by a friend of mine, and I just got it back from him. So this is a 19th century Chinese export silver-headed walking stick. The stick itself, the shaft, is made of a material called Malacca-Cane, or the Latin name is, trying to remember now, it is the Calamus scipionum is what it's called, and it's a type of rattan or reed that grows in Southeast Asia. So it's found in places like Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, some places near the Philippines, and it has been used to make walking sticks for centuries, 2, 3, 4, 500 years. And the reason that it's really popular as a material for walking sticks is because it's extremely lightweight. I mean, this thing is literally 3 feet long, and I would guess that this whole thing weighs probably 200 or 300 grams. So about maybe half a pound, if that. It's super light. It's also really strong, and it's actually quite thick, as you can see. And that was why, for centuries, people would harvest this cane to make walking sticks with, because it's just so lightweight, sturdy, strong, thick, can take a lot of weight, and coming from Southeast Asia, to people in Europe, at least, this was an extremely exotic material. It's not like oak or rosewood or teak or any of the other, European timbers that, they used to make walking sticks out of. This is something exotic from the Orient. So it was extremely popular. And so in the 1800s, late 1700s, early 1800s, all the way up to the first few decades of the 20th century, there were Chinese merchants who were dealing with European traders from places like Britain, France, Germany, Portugal, the Netherlands, United States, Canada, and they were making all kinds of little export wares. And one of the things that they were making was all kinds of things out of silver. And Chinese export silver is extremely interesting, and it's very collectible. And one of the things they would make is stuff like this. They would do silver walking stick handles, and they would, they just make the handle, nothing else, and they would sell them to European and North American traders, and they would take them back to Europe. Or they would take them to their Asian colonies, so places like Hong Kong, Singapore, the Dutch East Indies, to places like the Kingdom of Siam, to the Malay Peninsula, and so on. And there they would have an abundance of Malacca-Cane rattan, which is what this is, which grows there naturally, natively, and in enormous abundance. So they could churn out sticks like this. And then they would load those onto steamers, onto sailing ships, and they would take them back to Europe where they would sell like hotcakes because they were exotic, you know, far off, East Asian timber. Although really, it's not actually a timber; it's not wood; it's a reed. And they would have these beautiful, hand carved, handmade silver Chinese handles, and these were all done by hand. They would carve them out, and then they would press the silver sheet into it to get the form of the design. And they were always made in this really folksy Chinese way. So you would have stuff like, people wearing robes, people wearing, the Chinese hats. You would have, stuff like this, the stereotypical long Chinese beard with the long flowing robes. You would have stuff like this, the Chinese house, the lanterns and everything here, the oriental looking vines and trees and creepers. And so that was how they used to make these things. And they made them as ostentatiously oriental as possible because they were designed to appeal to the Europeans. And the Chinese people who were making this stuff knew that, this isn't exactly, typical of, all of China, but they were making them as fantasy pieces for Europeans. And Europeans didn't really care what it looked like, so long as it looked, exotic and far off and foreign. So that they lapped it up. So yeah, when I bought the stick, it was really badly damaged. This was the whole top was all smashed in with dents all over it. It was really on the edge of just crumbling. So I took it to a friend of mine who was a silversmith. He was able to repair it. He removed the silver handle. How this used to work is that the silver it's just a shell. It's like a silver cup. And then inside is a really thick, viscous, sticky, it's like resin or pitch. Basically what it is, it's like a gum. It's like, like wax, basically. So when it's cold, it's rock hard. And what you do is you heat it up, you boil it, and when it's a liquid, you pour it in, and then you stick the shaft of the walking stick into it, and the resin will fill in all the gaps and everything. And then when it sets again, when it cools down, it basically becomes like concrete. It's rock hard, and it fuses it on. This is not coming off. You can get it off. To do that, you have to heat the whole thing up to melt the resin, and then it just pops off again. So that's what he had to do, and then he had to press out all the dents. He had to anneal the silver. He had to patch up all the cracks. I mean, there were so many cracks. I mean, there was one big one along here that you can probably still see. There were more like around the top. You can see them everywhere. I had to push them all out. It's a lot better now than it was. Then he had to heat up the resin again, fill up the cup at the top, and shove it back on and let it cool. So yeah, it's now in almost perfect condition. Obviously, something this old was never going to be flawless in that condition, but it doesn't matter. And yeah, another really interesting piece of antique silverware to add to the collection. One of the reasons why I wanted to add this to the collection is because of the material that it's made of, which is Malacca-Cane. It gets that name because it was exported from the city of Malacca in Malaysia. And Malacca was one of the main centers of Peranakan Chinese culture, which is my personal background. That's my entire family heritage. And I wanted to have this stick specifically to add it to my collection. on that basis. And I'm glad I did. So, yeah, I'm glad I get it restored and in a condition where I can actually show it online and let people see just how beautiful the decorations are around the top. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you want to find out more, you can always read my blog. I'm always adding more things there. And I will include a link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching.